Last night, an opossum may have walked through your garden. There's a good chance it already knew where your bin was. There's a good chance it had already mapped the safest route from your gate to your shed. And there's a reasonable chance it timed its visit around when your lights usually go off. Scientists expected cats and dogs to dominate the memory tests. Instead, the opossum embarrassed both of them. It found the route faster, held onto it longer, and came back weeks later and found it again. The cats and dogs had mostly forgotten it, and that is not even close to the most surprising thing they can do. Subscribe to Garden Wildlife Mind if you're new. And Chapter 6 explains why this quiet, unhurried animal has outlasted nearly every species you can name. Stay for that one. Chapter 1. The first time an opossum enters a new space, it doesn't go straight for food. It explores. It moves along fence lines, checks every corner, investigates areas near the house and shed, and tests every possible exit. It is doing one thing during all of this. It is building a map. Opossums have strong spatial memory for animals their size. Researchers who tracked urban opossums using GPS found that individual animals follow almost identical routes night after night. Same entry points, same pathways through the territory, same feeding areas, same exits, in roughly the same order every time. This is not wandering. This is a memorized route, built during early visits and refined with every return. Which means the opossum in your outdoor space tonight has very likely been there before. It probably knows where your bin is. It has likely identified which section of the fence offers the easiest grip. It has probably noticed that the area near your back door carries more risk, because it has come close enough, often enough, to learn that humans appear from there sometimes. Here is the part worth sitting with. The opossum didn't pick any of this up last night. It likely figured it out weeks ago. Every visit since then has just been it moving through a layout it already knows. The way you'd walk through your own kitchen in the dark without thinking, because the space is already memorized. You didn't notice it learning. That is exactly why the approach works. Chapter 2. Here is where it gets more personal. It isn't just a layout of your property the opossum has learned. It is your patterns, the times your household goes active and the times it goes quiet. The evenings you spend outside and the evenings you don't. The rough window of time each night when your territory becomes easier to move through. Researchers tracking urban opossums with GPS found that the animals adjusted their visiting times based on patterns of human activity at specific properties, feeding circuits that covered properties where people stayed up late, started later in the night. Routes that passed quieter homes received earlier visits. The animals weren't reacting to humans in the moment. They were fitting themselves around a schedule they had already figured out from previous nights. Think about what that actually requires. The opossum has to hold information across multiple nights, identify a pattern in that information, and then adjust its own behavior accordingly. That is not instinct. Instinct doesn't require memory across time. That is something closer to learning. Comparison, recognition, and a decision made based on past experience. The opossum moving through your backyard at 11 o'clock at night very likely did not just wander in. There is a good chance it identified a low-risk window based on what it had specifically observed about your household over time. You have a routine you probably don't think about. The bin goes out on the same night. The back door stops opening at roughly the same hour. The lights follow a pattern you barely notice. The opossum noticed. It was taking notes from the fence line while you were watching television. Chapter 3. When researchers set up the memory maze tests, the expectation was pretty clear. Cats are agile, curious, and known for problem solving. Dogs have been bred alongside humans for thousands of years and have well-documented learning ability. The opossum, a slow-moving marsupial that most people actively try to remove from their property, was not expected to be a serious competitor. The cats went in. They found the route. They moved confidently through the maze. The dogs went in. Same result. Competent, fairly quick, familiar with the kind of task. Then the opossums went in. And when all the same animals were brought back weeks later to run the maze again, the cats had mostly forgotten the correct path. The dogs performed inconsistently. The opossum still knew the route. The majority found it again correctly, with minimal hesitation. The researchers who ran these tests described the results as unexpected. The animal they had assumed would perform worst had, in a meaningful and measurable way, outperformed the ones most people think of as intelligent. Further testing showed that opossum's spatial and route-based memory is significantly stronger than its reputation suggests. They also scored consistently on object permanence tasks, the ability to understand that something still exists even when you can't see it. It is one of the markers researchers use to measure cognitive flexibility. The opossum passed it cleanly. This doesn't mean opossums are the cleverest animals alive. It means the assumptions most people carry about them are wrong, and wrong in a specific direction, underestimated consistently in almost every test that measures the things that actually matter for survival. Chapter 4. Two predators enter the same backyard. The opossum reacts completely differently to each one. First predator, a small dog it has encountered before. The opossum holds its position. It makes a short hissing sound. It waits. The dog sniffs around and leaves. Second predator, something larger appears at the fence line, moving faster, unfamiliar. The opossum has no stored information about this animal. Within seconds, it collapses. Tongue out, body limp, the full performance. The threat investigates briefly and moves on. Same animal, same night. Two completely different responses, chosen based on what it already knew. Most people assume playing dead is a simple reflex, something that happens automatically when the opossum gets overwhelmed, the way you might flinch without deciding to. In younger opossums, it is fairly close to that. A young opossum plays dead in response to almost anything unfamiliar. But older, more experienced opossums use the behavior selectively. Researchers watching opossums across multiple threat situations found them adjusting their responses based on the size, speed, and behavior of whatever was threatening them, and also based on whether they had survived that type of threat before. A dog that always backs off, hold position, wait it out. A large, unfamiliar animal moving fast, immediate collapse. Each response calibrated to the specific situation, informed by memory of every similar encounter it had already survived. That shift from automatic reaction to chosen response based on experience is one of the clearest markers of what we'd call intelligence in any animal. The opossum isn't just using a trick. It is using the right trick at exactly the right moment and saving it for the situations when nothing else will work. Chapter 5. By now we've seen what an opossum can do with its brain, but what its body has developed over time tells an equally surprising story, and one that connects directly to why this animal has survived every challenge it has ever faced. Opossums show remarkable resistance to the venom of many North American pit vipers. Researchers have identified a specific protein in opossum blood that neutralizes a wide range of viper venoms, and this protein is currently being studied as a potential basis for a broader anti-venom that could work across multiple snake species. The opossum's blood is, in a very real sense, being looked at as a medical tool for humans. This resistance almost certainly developed because opossums and venomous snakes have shared the same environments for millions of years. The individuals that could survive a bite passed that ability on. The ones that couldn't, didn't. The body, like the brain, became more capable through sustained exposure to difficulty. There is also the rabies question. Because of their lower body temperature, rabies infection in opossums is extraordinarily uncommon. The animal with the sharp teeth and the unsettling appearance poses almost no risk in this regard. And while moving through your backyard each night, the opossum removes ticks through ordinary self-grooming, somewhere in the range of thousands per week depending on conditions. Studies of tick populations in areas with active opossum presence found notably lower numbers than in comparable areas without them. The intelligence adapted. The body adapted alongside it. Both tell the same story, an animal that got very good across a very long time at surviving in exactly the kind of world it kept finding itself in. Chapter 6. The opossum's lineage stretches back roughly 70 million years. The ancestors of modern opossums were present before the mass extinction event that ended the age of the dinosaurs. Their line survived it. While most of what existed at that time disappeared, the marsupials that would eventually become the opossum kept going. They adapted to what came after. Then they adapted to what came after that. Across every major shift in climate, landscape, and available food that followed, the lineage continued. What they had, and what they have clearly carried through all of that time, is the ability to enter a new environment, figure out what it requires, and find a way to make it work. That same process is happening now in suburban backyards on nighttime feeding circuits that pass through properties like yours. The opossum navigating your fence line at midnight is dealing with a world its ancestors would not recognize. Cars, electric lighting, domestic dogs, garden netting, concrete. And it is managing that world using the same core tools, spatial memory, flexible behavior, the ability to learn from experience and adjust. 70 million years is a difficult number to feel, but here is one way to scale it. Humans in their modern form have been on this planet for roughly 300,000 years. The opossum lineage is more than 200 times older than that. It does not look like a survivor. That is, in some ways, exactly the point. The ones that looked impressive are mostly gone. The opossum is still here, moving through your property, doing what it has always done. Chapter 7. So the next time you see an opossum on your fence at night, here is what is probably true about what you are looking at. There is a good chance it has already memorized the layout of your property. A reasonable chance it has been working around your schedule. It carries resistance to snake venom that researchers are studying for human medicine. Its lower body temperature makes rabies infection extraordinarily uncommon. It has been quietly removing ticks from your outdoor space on every visit. And its lineage has been solving problems like yours for longer than most species currently alive have existed. It is not stumbling through your backyard by accident. It very likely came with a route already planned, a time window it had identified, and exits it had already located on a previous visit. You are not looking at a pest. You are looking at one of the most quietly capable animals in the natural world, doing exactly what it has always done, on its own terms, in a space it understood before you ever noticed it was there. The next time you see one on your fence, remember, it probably already knows the route. It likely knows the timing. And its lineage has been outsmarting threats for 70 million years. Tell me in the comments if one has ever visited your property and whether you tried to get rid of it. I read every single one. I'll see you in the next one.